the world saw that, and it was so gross, so unjust and wrong. It was as if we witnessed a live execution.
This isn't a political issue, but I do think it needs to be asked.
Yeah.
Is it time for President Obama, obviously African American, to stop towing the legal line and be more aggressive on this, to actually go out? You know, he's gone out. He's made comments after Trayvon. He's made comments after Michael Brown, but he's kind of, created ground to the legal system. I mean, this is the first African American president. He's been criticized for not being aggressive enough on behalf of police brutality and those kinds of issues.
Yeah. I think the question is a fair question. I think what I learned, and I may have told you this before, but what I learned the hard way is just how local police brutality is, and it's painfully local. And let me explain why, and then I'll connect it back to President Obama. When Eric Garner was killed, which was he was killed in July of 2014, in Staten Island. I saw the video first just a few days later. It was posted on YouTube, and I had the thought then, and that was a pivotal moment for me, before Mike Brown was killed, before John Crawford was killed. When I saw that video, I had the thought, I'm going to show this video everywhere. And at that time, that was not something that we did. I had never seen a video like that. No one had ever seen a video of police brutality in that way, which shows you how much times have changed. I had the thought, if I show this to everybody, somebody's going to be held accountable. That I wasn't in New York, but I had the thought, if people see this, Daniel Pantaleo, who put that illegal chokehold on him, and the officers who did nothing to prevent it, someone's going to be held accountable. And even President George W. Bush, he saw it, and he was no longer president. He saw the video, and he made similar comments before an indictment. They didn't indict him. They didn't do anything. But when he saw the video, he made comments to the effect of, this is terrible and someone needs to be held accountable. And I thought that's what was going to happen. And then I was naive, and I thought the same thing. I did the same thing with Mike Brown. I did the same thing with Tamir Rice in Cleveland. I kept thinking, if the world knows about this, and the world knew, media all around the world has covered police brutality. This morning I've received requests from 10 different countries. The world is looking at American police brutality, and they care, and they want to talk about it. But I learned in Staten Island that if you have a deeply conservative prosecutor who gets to make sometimes their own judgment call on how they present a case, or even if they're not conservative, and they don't have, even sometimes ethnicity doesn't matter. If you have a prosecutor who is not disturbed by police brutality, who doesn't even see it as police brutality, but sees it as an officer just doing their job, what I learned is I can say whatever I want. I can make something a number one trending topic. The Young Turks can talk about it 24/7, but that there is a man somewhere who, if he or there is an employee, and if they don't care about police brutality, like Bob McCullough in St. Louis, whose father was a police officer killed in the line of duty, he had no history of ever giving a tiny crap about police brutality. And he's the DA of St. Louis, and he's been there for 25 years. And so what I learned is no march, even if President Obama came out and said, Bob McCullough, I want you to do A, B, or C. Staten Island DA, I want you to do it. That these local politicians end up being able to have the majority of the say in what's done or not done. And so you get people who are killed locally by local police, and our federal government has almost no jurisdiction over these police departments and sheriff's departments. There are 22,500 police and sheriff departments in our country. It is a It is a complicated, tangled web where there's very little oversight. Even in some cities, even a mayor has no say in what those police do. Often the departments act independently. The laws have been shaped to protect them, and even Supreme Court cases basically state that if an officer feels a reasonable fear, he or she is able to act on that fear. And what I've written about, and President Obama was a constitutional lawyer and professor. Um, he was the head of the Harvard Law Review, a brilliant legal mind. He is keenly aware that even as president, of all the things he has power over, he has maybe the least power and influence in what police and local prosecutors do. It's how our country is shaped. Now, with all of that said, I think there's very little substantive work that he can do. But a lot of people, I see people now in Minnesota and Louisiana saying, what is the president going to do? They want to see him talk about it.
There's a big chunk of our fellow citizenry that feels as if, because of the color of their skin, they are not being treated the same. And that hurts. And that should trouble all of us. This is not just a black issue. It's not just a Hispanic issue. This is an American issue that we should all care about. All fair-minded people should be concerned. Now, let me just say, we have extraordinary appreciation and respect for the vast majority of police officers who put their lives on the line to protect us every single day. They've got a dangerous job. It is a tough job.
People want him to say and do more, and sometimes a lot of his most supportive fans are frustrated when you even say, "I wish he was doing more." But I think it's a sign that people just don't know what to do, and their mayors aren't doing anything, their governors aren't doing anything. No person in power seems to be so struck by police brutality that they're saying, let's change this system. Let's make credible, substantive changes, including President Obama. We don't see anybody saying that and saying, you know what, I'm your guy. I am going to lead significant reform on this issue. And I think the rationale for that is that we can't get substantive reform on any serious issue in this country. Just a few weeks ago, I saw undocumented immigrants devastated, in tears, crying when the Supreme Court basically voted 4-4 to not protect them in any way. And even their 4-4 vote was in part because they will not allow President Obama to appoint a new Supreme Court justice. And so we don't have anything resembling just basic immigration reform in this country. The country is boiling over gun control and is almost as universally in agreement over a few basic reforms. Can't get past. Can't do it. I mean, it seems like climbing a 40,000-foot mountain to get some basic reforms passed on anything that matters. And all of that, I think, is causing a real despair in our country. And even more so when we look out and see that I don't feel like Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton are going to move the needle on any of these issues. And that they have some political magic, which is a lot to ask of anybody. to break through the gridlock that's our government, and it's frustrating.
Shaun, I want to thank you for taking so much time, and I know you'll be writing a lot about this, and everybody should follow your Twitter at Shaun King, and obviously your column at the New York Daily News. Thanks again.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Yeah.